Howdy, I'm Dr. Davey Griffin. I'm an extension meat specialist and a professor in the Department of Animal Science. We're going to talk today about branded beef products and branded beef programs and how you do niche marketing with some of those things. And we're going to do that because as you look at this beef in the cooler, it hasn't been very long ago that that product was just sold as beef at any retail store or food service establishment. And as consumers, we typically associated that beef with that store or with that restaurant. Today, much more of the product that's sold across the United States is sold with a brand that starts back somewhere either with the cattle themselves, or as they go through the process, they're selected to be in a certain branded beef program or in some other kind of niche marketing situation where consumers start to recognize that brand as part of their buying decision.
As we talk about these certification programs, it's kind of interesting first off to ask a question or two. Have you ever seen this logo? Do you know anything about 44 Farms? Do you know anything about Ranchers Reserve? Have you ever seen their product in a store? What about Meats by Lynn, Steakhouse Preferred? How about Seminole Pride? And these are just some I picked out of looking online and seeing some of these programs that are out there. Creekstone Farms is another one that's out there on the market. Have you ever heard of that? Or maybe Misty Isle Farms, Angus beef. Doesn't that sound like it's a real soothing, interesting type program? Yeah, but you probably never heard too much about it. You may have heard of Boulder Valley, but I doubt it. But have you ever heard of certified Angus beef? Well, sure. And most people have. They've seen CAB and think maybe that's one of the only branded programs out there. But there are a tremendous number of these as we start looking. 44 Farms is a local one that we have down here in the Central Texas area around Cameron, Texas. They have done a tremendous job lately of picking and certifying, or picking and being able to go through their genetics in a way that they're producing some very high quality product. They're also selling a lot of bulls and buying calves back from those people as they start to look at what they do. Boulder Valley is one. You know, if you look at Boulder Valley's natural, it says Boulder Valley Natural works with quality family-owned ranches that are committed to sustainability, that committed to humane animal welfare, natural production methods, and delivering the best possible quality beef. So instead of just going to the store and buying something that might have just a store brand on it, now you can start to identify with who raised the product, know more about it. Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse has their own premium program. One that I found online, it's a USDA Prime Angus program. So there's a lot of different ones. Why do we talk so much about this and what's going on? Well, today's beef consumers, they're a lot more conscious about brands than ever before. Instead of going to the retail store and just buying Kroger or H-E-B or any of the other major retailer brands and thinking, gosh, those guys actually produce that beef. Now we're starting to identify who actually is doing that. You know, it's no different. When you go to the store and you want to buy a computer, you don't go into a store and say, hey, I just need a computer. Let them fix me up with one. Instead, you go in with the idea, I'm going to buy a Mac or an HP or whatever, and you have a brand in mind that meets your specifications, your requirements. Well, beef is really no different. We used to go into the store and we always figured that product, assumed that product was just the specifications that the store had for that product. Well, really what the store was doing is they were buying from all the major packers and being able to just have that product out there in the store, somewhat under their label, mostly generic, maybe by grade, by USDA grade, but that would be about the only specification along with that. Today, over half of the product that's out there on the market today is sold with a brand that comes into the store with the product. So, certified Angus beef leaves the packer with the label certified Angus beef. It's then sold in a store or at a restaurant by that same brand name. So that's quite a different phenomenon than what happened 30 years ago, when most beef was truly generic. Most of it was a commodity product that we just bought maybe by USDA grade, but that was about the only specification, and some with yield grades, but mainly by just USDA grade, quality grade. So we want to talk more today about branded beef products. Those could be certified beef products, programs, process verified programs, alliances. Sometimes they're called specification beef programs, cooperatives. All of those are an attempt by different parts of the beef industry to produce something in a value-based marketing system. And some of us were around a number of years ago when there was something called a value-based marketing task force. And one of the things that came out of that task force of industry leaders was that there was an opportunity to, instead of selling beef as a commodity product, selling a pen of cattle as an average, to looking at what individual animals, individual carcasses were worth based on their actual quality grade, yield grade, eating specifications, yield of cuts, all those things, and reward those that were more driven by consumer needs and actually discount those that were not. And so that's value-based marketing in a nutshell. And so all of these programs have been in an effort to do some kind of value-based marketing from there. Some of the typical requirements on those, some of it started with live or genetic requirements. So you could identify different breeds or colors or any of those type things in an effort to look at maybe what breed works better in what situation or those kind of things. Quality factors, I've already mentioned, quality grade, marbling texture, even carcass maturity or animal maturity is one of those that's used quite a bit. There's some that have requirements for yield factors such as yield grade. One of the major ones is ribeye area, and we'll talk about that and why that's important here in a few minutes. And also carcass weight has become a real issue as we start to think about how big these animals are, and we keep increasing carcass weight. Some of the other things that are no's maybe for the carcass characteristics of the programs is most of them say no to dark cutters or something called blood splash. Even hump height, there's some things like that that indicate that there's differences in quality are part of that system as well. I want to narrow this down just a little bit, and we're going to talk about USDA beef carcass certification programs, because they are some of the leading portion of the certification programs and those kind of things. Then we'll jump back and pick up some of the other alliances and some of the things that are going on outside of there. USDA administers these beef carcass certification programs. They're administered by the Agricultural Marketing Service, Livestock and Seed Program, Meat Grading and Certification Branch. Now that's different from another branch of USDA that is the Food Safety Inspection Service. FSIS makes sure that every carcass that we market in the United States is safe and wholesome to eat. USDA Agricultural Marketing Service is one of those agencies within USDA that is tasked with helping the industry market beef or market products. And Agricultural Marketing Service also has arms that do things for crops, and all the different parts of agriculture have, if they have a grading system, They're under agricultural marketing service in some way or the other.